Good morning and welcome to the Great Journey podcast. I'm here today with Sensei Marty Callahan. We will be sharing a story with you called I Will Run You Through with a Sword Without the Blink of an Eye. Now, I forgot to introduce myself. Good morning. I'm Caitlin Clary. So Sensei Callahan always has wonderful stories to share with us, and I'm really looking forward to hearing this one.
Yeah. So this is a great martial arts story. Long time ago, and I don't know how true the story is, but I believe that it's based on truth. So the Chinese government was taking over the country of Tibet.
Okay.
And they would go into the villages and they would terrorize the people of the villages. And this one particular general was particularly hard on the monks that lived in the villages.
Okay.
And so this village heard that this general was coming with his army, and the monks fled to the mountains. They didn't want to have anything to do with this general.
Right.
Now, all the monks left except for one.
Okay.
And when the general got close, the head of the village went out to speak to the general and told him that all the monks had left except for one. So, there was no reason to come into their village.
Right.
But this infuriated the general.
Okay.
And the general then went charging into the village. He got to the gates of the monastery, kicked in the gates, and then stomped into the center of the courtyard. And there was the one monk standing there in the middle of the courtyard.
Right.
And he walked up to him and he looked him in the eye and he said, "Do you know who I am? I am he who could run you through with a sword without blinking an eye." And of course, he said this to intimidate the monk.
Right.
But the monk stood there and very calmly nodded and said back to the general, "And General, do you know who I am? I am he who could let you run me through with a sword without blinking an eye."
Yeah. Wow.
So essentially what he had done in
It's
making
a very
that
wise answer.
what he had done in making that statement was he had told the general that he knew that the general was more powerful than he was, and that the general could take his life just like that.
Right.
But that if that's what the general was going to do, then that's what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that the monk was good with that.
Right.
And so because he was good with that, it meant that he wasn't afraid. And that's really what the general was trying to do, was to scare the heck out of him.
Right. Do you know the outcome of that situation?
Yeah. So what actually happened was the general stood there and stared hard at the monk for a long moment, and then he turned around and stomped and left the monastery and the village.
Right.
Yep.
So if the monk had been combative, which obviously is not in their belief system and nature, of course, then the response might have been different than him coming with a relaxed, calm mind. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The monk had the empty mind. So the monk was willing to accept whatever might happen. And he knew who the general was. He knew what the general was capable of. And he just accepted that. Okay, if this is going to be my lot, then this is my lot.
Yeah.
And it was that calm acceptance of the circumstances that allowed it to be a good outcome for him.
Yeah, that's a really unique story. So how do we teach that in the school then? How do we teach our kids to respond in those situations that way?
Thank you for asking me that. I didn't prepare an answer, but I suppose I could come up with one here. Yeah. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we teach the empty mind. We teach the calm mind. And that's right there in the term karate.
Right.
So we pointed out to the students that the word is actually two words: kara, K-A-R-A, and te, T-E.
Okay.
And kara means empty, te means hand. It refers to the fact that we don't have a weapon, but it also refers to the fact that our mind is empty and our self is empty. And so what you want to do, and what we tell our students that happens is through countless repetitions of techniques that demand a concentrated mental focus, that's how the process of emptying the mind occurs. So as the student is practicing technique after technique after technique after technique, you go into a meditative state, a type of a meditative state that allows the mind to be empty. And an empty mind is really a mind that is not thinking. It's not a mind that is not capable of thinking. It's just that at that moment, the mind is not involved in thought. The mind is involved in being aware and perceiving of the things that are going on around you.
Okay. And does muscle memory play a role in like all of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once the concept of emptying the mind is embedded within the student, then the student can bring that back at any time because it's embedded in their muscles, it's embedded in their very being.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's an incredible story. Yeah, I always love the history stories and the lessons that come from those. I wouldn't be brave enough to be that guy, but it's funny. I mean, you think of these things, we've talked about it before, you know, one day we'll be dead and none of this will matter, but I'm thankful for the people that have made such an imprint in a story that becomes, whether it's a legend or however it travels down in history, but it still has so much teaching depth that even today in our little modern day world.
Yeah, and actually, I experienced something like this myself, and I had no idea that I would respond this way. But there was outside our school here, there's a little driveway, and we're in a shopping center, and there was a black BMW with the windows tinted black. That was driving by slowly by the side of the school. And it came to a stop and the driver got out. I mean, I was in the school here on the floor and I was practicing and
By yourself at this
by
point?
myself. Yeah, I was by myself. It was about 2:00, 3:00 in the afternoon one day. And the driver came out of his vehicle and took a couple steps towards me. He could see me in the school practicing, and he picked his hand up and he pointed it like a gun. He pointed it right straight at me. And I just looked at him and just, waved.
Smiled and waved.
Smiled and waved, right?
Right. Yeah. That would just be an easy target. That's not a challenge for them at all, right? Yeah. Okay. That's pretty funny.
And often, so a lot of people, criminal and gang type people will threaten you, in different ways. And if you come at it in an aggressive fashion, then they'll respond that way. They'll up it. And so the best thing is just to bring it down.
Right.
Smile and wave.
Smile and wave.
Right.
Just like you said with your lovely wife, Connie, how her smile can just calm any storm out there, right? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was a great story. I look forward to sharing this with my kids today. All right. I hope you guys took something great from this, and we will see you next time on the Great Journey podcast. Have a great day.